Ladies and gentlemen, leaders and fighters for freedom and liberty and the American dream, the best is yet to come.
They felt pretty comfortable after day 2.
We've ended the war on American energy. We were in war. And we've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal, one of our great natural resources.
Look, talk about education. I propose that what we take is those very poor schools, the Title I schools, triple the amount of money we spend from $15 to $45 billion a year. Give every single teacher a raise to the equal raise of getting out of the $60,000 level. Number 2, make sure that we bring in to help the teachers deal with the problems that come from home. The problems that come from home, we have one school psychologist for every 1,500 kids in America today. It's crazy. The teachers are, I'm married to a teacher. My deceased wife is a teacher. They have every problem coming to them. We have to make sure that every single child does in fact have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds go to school, not daycare, school. We bring social workers into homes of parents to help them deal with how to raise their children. It's not that they don't want to help, they don't know quite what to do. Play the radio, make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone, make sure the kids hear words. A kid coming from a very poor school, a very poor background, will hear 4 million words fewer spoken by the time they get there. There's so much, I'm going to go like the rest of them do, twice over, okay? And by the way, I sit on the stand. And it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. Kids jumping on my lap. I love kids jumping on my lap.
Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily. So everybody comes in, your grandmother, everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother.
No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting, pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Well,
Hello, users, and welcome to another... Whoa, look at that camera angle. Look at this. Whoa, this is like crazy camera. What's happening here? Check this out. This is, a little bit of, behind the scenes version. Like, I don't know. This is crazy. Normally it's like over here. So yeah, my hair's a mess. I'm just sitting here detangling, with my pinky, as you can see. How's everyone doing today? I am waiting patiently for people to respond to me on how they are doing today. Man, this hair is fucked up. This is such a disaster. I might have to cut it all off. Oh! It's nice out here. Hell yeah. Alright, y'all. So we got some news here. Going through the news. Some new stuff. In the news, drinking my covfefe. Oh god, what? Are there clips? Where are the clips? Nah, fuck that. I don't give a shit about Putin. Heat wave. Oh shit. Oh, this might be interesting. Yeah, I'm just like, let me just power drink this fucking coffee real quick. I'm just gonna power drink it. I'm gonna go, like, check this out. You ready for this? Woof, look at this. Whoa! Officer and suspect killed in Georgia traffic stop. Whoa, let's read. Officer down, folks. Officer down. Alright, let's read this. Officer and suspect are killed after Georgia traffic stop ends in gunfire. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is looking into Thursday morning shooting. Officer down, folks. Officer down. 2 people, including a police officer, died following a traffic stop. How did they die? Did they die in police custody? Did they have a mysterious illness? Did they die of a fentanyl overdose? Who knows? A few details have been released, but the Georgia Bureau of Investigation described the victim as a male suspect and Holly Springs police officer. They have not yet been identified. At this point, we are still working to gather the details and will provide updates as we learn more, the GBI tweeted. The motherfucking G-ass, motherfucking B-ass-I. Police in Holly Springs. Is it Holly Springs? What kind of fucking name is Holly Springs, yo? What the fuck? Said in a statement that the department is in the process of notifying the officer's family members and attempting a positive identification in the suspect. Motorists are urged to avoid a stretch of Hickory Road. Motherfucking Holly Springs, Hickory Road. God damn it. GBI. As authorities continue their investigation. The area from New Light to Little Roads is expected to be closed. Alright, that's cool, man. Hell yeah. I mean, like, this is just news. This is America. Like, I don't know what to tell you. At least an officer's the one getting killed this time. But, you know, what are you going to do? Maybe not next time, but maybe next time. Who knows? Texas governor announces $250 million down payment for border wall. Lord have mercy. Wow. That's funny as hell. Alright, this is something that seems important to read about. People being shot to death in America. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, okay. Let me expand upon my opinion. Okay. So normally, when you hear the news about people being shot to death, right? It's people shooting each other because they're stupid. People being killed by drones. And by drones, I mean, you know, robots, cyborgs, police officers, whatever you want to call them. You know, like, or just people dying because, you know, they don't have fucking medical care or anything like that. So, like, I mean, you know, seeing a cop die, I mean, is it a good thing? Of course not, right? But, like, you know, it's better than 2 regular people dying. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. What's the news on North Carolina legalizing the herb? I haven't heard any news on that, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, so that's my scoop on the officer being down. I don't really care. Who cares? Fuck them. Anyway, so I care about this actually. So let's check this out. This is from The Guardian. Millions in U.S. race against the clock to pay the rent and stave off eviction. All right. Millions of Americans are in a race against the clock to receive rental assistance before the end of the month, when a federal eviction moratorium designed to help people cope during the coronavirus pandemic expires. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention eviction moratorium ends on the 30th of June. Some states will still have local renter protections in place, but in the vast majority of states, rental assistance, an essential lifeline for millions, could arrive too late, according to housing advocates. Isn't this like what a world we live in, right, folks? Like, okay, so there's a pandemic. We won't kick you out of your house. We'll just delay kicking out of your house. And here's the thing. There's an eviction moratorium, not a rent moratorium, which means every month you still have to pay that $1,200 or whatever it is. And so there's going to be people that just have like a fucking $13,000 rent bill that they can't, like, how the fuck? Oh, but Biden gave us $1,400. Wow. That's totally going to help pay my fucking $13,000 rent bill. Thanks a lot, Joe Biden. By the way, is there going to be another stimulus? No? All right, cool. So, like, this shit is just ridiculous, man. I've been talking about this basically since the pandemic started. And it's a huge problem. And I guarantee you this is going to be a giant fucking issue, like, next month. Like, this time next month, there's going to be, like, millions and millions of fucking homeless people. And the government's not going to help. No one's going to help. And this is why, like, just society is in tatters. Like, again, we've got all these fucking hotels, motels, condominiums, fucking luxury office fucking studios and all that shit. Yet, we still have homeless people? What? We have people that own houses that are just sitting there as fucking, like, real estate investments, right? And we still have homeless people? Like, it's just bizarre. It's strange. But don't get me started here. At this point, it's a race against the clock to try to get the money to the tenants who need it to keep them stably housed when the eviction moratorium expires, said Diane Yentel, president and CEO of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. In mid-May, 7.49 million U.S. adults said that they were not current on rent or mortgage payments and had slight or no confidence that they can make the next month's payment, according to the Census Bureau's Household Pulse survey. So far, the eviction moratorium has kept many of these families housed. There were about 1.55 fewer eviction cases last year than would be filed in a typical year, according to an estimate by the Eviction Lab. Why don't we just keep that policy in place? Hey, Just an idea. Without the moratorium, they will need access to $46.55 billion in rental assistance allocated by the government to help renters and landlords, though its distribution got off to a slow start. On Donald Trump's final day in office, his administration issued guidance which made it more difficult for people to access the program by requiring extensive documentation to prove they qualified. The Treasury Department revised the guideline in March, and then in May issued new rules to make the process easier. I just marinate on this. Trump does something on January 20th. Biden gets in, does all these sweeping executive orders. Oh, yes, Joe Biden. Oh, yes, the executive orders. Look at me. Oh, signing my name on those, all that bullshit. But he didn't make qualifying for rent assistance any easier until last month. And this is why this shit is useless. Like, oh, but Biden's only one person. He's only one person. Okay? With a fucking goddamn entire team of thousands and thousands of people that could draft up a fucking executive order or a rule change that all he has to do is fucking put his signature on. All he has to say is, yeah, we should probably reverse this rule, have some aide type it up, and then he signs it, and boom, you're done. But instead, he waited until May, and now there's going to be millions of people that are... And again, let's assume, best case scenario, everyone's fine. That's not going to happen, but let's just fantasy world, okay? Everyone's still going to have to deal with the mental health turmoil of having to worry about not knowing whether or not they're going to have a house next month. That weighs a lot on your conscience. Thinking every single morning, is this the last morning? Are they going to evict me tomorrow? Right? That fucks you up. It fucks you up. Also, let's be honest. If people are worried about being able to pay rent, they're probably not eating well. They're probably not sleeping well. Right? And so, like, there's a lot of other effects that go into hurting a human being when it comes to having a housing problem. And this is why this is so ridiculous. There's no excuse. Joe Biden should have been on top of this as soon as he fucking went into the goddamn fucking White House. But he wasn't, because he's a piece of goddamn dog shit garbage can, man. Yentl said she was confident the money would be moving more efficiently in the next couple of months, but cautioned that there was a strong unlikelihood it would reach all renters and landlords before the federal moratorium expires. The NLIHC has called for the federal moratorium to be extended. Is it going to be, though? Anyone want to place bets? It's already too late for Tiffany Lester, a single mother raising two children, 15 and 12, in Jacksonville, Florida. She works as a nursing assistant, and during the pandemic, her hours were cut from more than 40 a week to about 16, leaving her unable to keep up with rent payments this year. Lester, 36, immediately filed for rental assistance when it became available in April. She applied again when more funds were made available in May. She has not received money from either program. United Way of Northeast Florida, which is processing the first round of applications, said it received 6,800 applications. A spokesperson there said that it can take weeks to distribute money through a very detailed and deliberate process, and that Lester was lower on the wait list because of criteria determined by the government. And this is why means testing is garbage. What if you gave everyone money up front, and then, oops, they didn't need all of it. Okay, we'll just scrape it back through taxes. Instead, people, again, am I going to have a house next month? Am I going to have a house next month? Am I going to be able to feed my kids next month? That is not acceptable. I'm sorry. In a society, in a civilization, that is just not acceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And it just showcases that we live in a dystopian fucking shithole of a goddamn country. Lester said her landlord had told her they would hold off on filing for eviction if she showed evidence of applying for the assistance. But within 48 hours of sharing that proof, the landlord filed an eviction. It's been a lot of sleepless nights, worrisome days, crying, a lot of tears, Lester said. It's just scary. And then to have the landlord tell you, you haven't even tried to pay us. I'm going to fucking I don't know if I can read the rest of this. Y'all get the gist. If y'all want to read the rest of this article, you can feel free to do so. But again, this is a giant fucking problem. There's no such thing as a good landlord. I'm sorry. You're if you look at a crying single mother with 2 children, barely able to put food on the table, and you think to yourself, see ya, bitch. Right? I've got news for you. You should be in a jail. Like, okay, I'm just letting you know this right now. The best case scenario, right? The best case scenario that I can imagine is you being in a jail cell for the rest of your life. That is a crime against humanity. As far as I'm concerned, putting children on the streets should be punishable by life in prison. It's ridiculous. You do not belong in society. You should be deported to a fucking island and like a fucking, like, you know that island that's full of fucking like guano, right? That like is off on the fucking northwest coast of the United States, right? It's just an empty ass rock with a bunch of bird shit. Yeah, you should go to that motherfucking island and you should rot on that island until your carcass is fucking simmering in the sun, because you're garbage, you're disgusting, you're evil, and every single fiber of your being is an insult to humanity as a species and as a civilization. That shit is ridiculous. It's disgusting and it's evil, and the government that upholds this kind of bullshit, I'm sorry, man, it's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm gonna end this segment here because I can't go on anymore. Lord have motherfucking mercy. How's everyone doing today? Alright, just gotta calm down a little bit. Just a little. Only gonna calm down a little. The House is set to repeal the 2002 AUMF used for Iraq. Wow. That's cool. Let's see if it happens. Alright, let's read this story. Oh, my back. Oh! You ever just, like, scratch your back and, like, your entire life is, like, changed forever? Like, that's what just happened to me, man. I just had one hell of a back scratch. Oh. Give it to me. Alright. So let's read the news, folks. So I covered this the other day. A protester was murdered in Minneapolis at a protest over the police assassination of a man named Winston Smith. This is the guy. And so I'm going to be reading this from unicornriot.ninja. Minneapolis, Minnesota. 3 additional felony charges have been filed against Nicholas Cross, Cross? I don't know. The driver who attacked a Winston Smith protest, killing Deanna Marie Erickson and injuring others. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office has charged Kraus with second-degree intentional murder and 2 counts of second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon after initially charging him with criminal vehicular homicide, driving after license cancellation, and giving false information to the police. On Sunday night, June 13th, 31-year-old Diana Marie Erickson was with dozens of others holding a space of protest and grieving at the intersection near a parking ramp where law enforcement killed Winston Smith 10 days earlier. Diana Marie had been a daily presence at the protest, and that night, after a large march and rally, she parked her car on the side of Lake Street, taking the right lane in a manner which would protect the protesters on the sidewalk. As she was on the sidewalk just before midnight, she was fatally struck by Kraus's car attack. 2 others were injured and had to be hospitalized, and the rest of the crowd was left traumatized. I also want to, it's important to understand that, her birthday was, a couple days ago, right? That's one of those things that's crazy to me. Because, I can't. It's just horrifying. It's horrifying. And, who knows what's going to happen to this dude up here? Who knows what's going to happen to this dude? I hope he goes to jail for the rest of his life, right? Or, for a reasonable amount of time. But, I'm always scared that when the media stops reporting on these cases, that they're just going to, give them a slap on the wrist. We have a similar incident in Elizabeth City where we had a car attack. Fortunately, no one was killed. But, we are very worried that they're going to get a slap on the wrist. And this is one of those things where, again, you see states like Florida pass laws that say, oh, you can kill any pedestrian at any time, and it's all good, bro, because there's no such thing as pedestrians in Florida. There's no such thing as a right-of-way. Everyone walking on the streets is a rioter, and if they're a rioter, they can be executed by your car. That's what the fucking state of Florida says, right? And so, that's what's crazy, is because the state of Florida saying that is indicative of, that's what about 20% of the country believes. There's about a solid 1/5 of the country that just thinks, oh, you're walking in a crosswalk, executed, death penalty. Oh, you're on the sidewalk, executed, death penalty. Right? It's ridiculous. It's horrifying, and it's just disgusting. And you can watch here, there's an interview with the person who dragged this guy out of the car. You can watch that if you want. I'll put the link in the description. But let's read the rest of this here. According to the criminal complaint, Kraus admitted he saw that people were beyond a barricade set up to protect him, and that he floored the accelerator in attempts to jump the barricade. Is this motherfucker playing Grand Theft Auto trying to do an insane stunt jump? Seriously, bro, are you stupid? Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman stated that Kraus was intoxicated, and that his admittance to intentionally driving toward the protesters is an important factor in them charging Kraus with murder. This motherfucker, 1, got into a car while drunk. 2, drove toward a protest that he knew was happening. 3, drove into the crowd of protesters. And 4, murdered someone. I'm sorry, throw away the motherfucking key as far as I'm concerned. The defendant, Mr. Kraus, in the Uptown fatal incident in which he struck and killed a peaceful female protester, was while intoxicated and injured additional protesters, and is an extreme and violent intentional act. His behavior and admittance to intentionally driving toward the protesters is one important reason why we have charged him with intentional second-degree murder. After the vehicle that Kraus crashed into Diana's car, witnesses say Kraus tried to run away. Kraus was restrained by activist Tony Clark, who turned him over to the police 2 nights later during a police operation clearing Winston Smith protesters. We heard from Clark about his experience that fatal night. He spoke about Diana, the crash, turning Kraus over to the police, and the need for Kraus to face additional charges for his actions. You can watch this interview later. It's about 11 minutes. I watched it either the other day. It's something, it's good to watch. You got to keep privy on these situations, especially in a situation, if you're going out to protest, it's important to follow other cities, other towns, other countries' protest tactics. See what people are doing, how they respond, how they react, what people say, because again, you never know when you're going to find yourself in this kind of situation. And it's just horrifying. So, it's It's just horrifying. I mean, again, we had a similar situation here in Elizabeth City about a month ago now, where a car drove into the crowd and they could have killed people, right? It's just one of those things, like, if someone were, you know, an inch closer to the right, they could have been underneath the car and had their fucking brain cracked open by a fucking tire. It was just by the grace of God that they weren't. You know what I mean? And it's like, these are the situations that are going on. Like, these people want to kill us for what reason? Like, again, what's the order of operations here? Police murder someone, right? Let's even go back to George Floyd. George Floyd is murdered, right? The entire world finds that extremely problematic. And there's an uprising all across the world, and especially in Minneapolis, right? And so someone who responds to that uprising by saying that peaceful protests don't work, Winston Smith, is then executed by nameless squadrons of U.S. Marshals. Sound familiar, by the way? Oh, by the way, this is not in Trump's America. This is in Biden's America. Where's mainstream news? Have you seen any? Has CNN covered Winston Smith at all? They covered the hell out of George Floyd. Why not Winston Smith, right? So, Winston Smith, someone who is, you know, notably very much so not a fan of peaceful protesters, because again, or peaceful protests, you know, because again, they don't work. Like, we know that for a fact. Peaceful protests do not work. Now, is that an endorsement of violence? No. Is that an endorsement of other tactics? Maybe. But what I am saying is peaceful protests do not work. They have worked exactly 0% of the time that they have attempted to be you know, I don't want to use that word. That they have been, you know, tried. They have worked 0 times. 0 out of however many thousands and thousands and thousands of examples of peaceful protests. There's exactly 0 cases of them actually succeeding and gaining anything, right? And so that's just an observable reality. But for that reality, he was executed by a squadron of nameless federal fucking troops, okay? And then so peaceful people then peacefully protest that murder, right? And for that, they are murdered. Like, and then the cops come in, and if you remember, they released a statement that said, well, they shouldn't have been walking in the streets. That's what the cops said. That's what the Minneapolis Police Department said. Their official statement was, well, shouldn't have been playing in traffic, bitch. That was their fucking statement, and it's just disgusting. This is the world that we live in. You need to understand, cops are not your friend. There is no such thing as a good cop. They're all garbage. They're all going to kill you. It's just a matter of when and where, right? Like, I just, you know, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. This whole thing is just horrifying. And you know, it's just horrifying. Look at this goddamn dog. I'm telling you this right now, like, if I were in a situation where I just saw one of my friends get murdered and the guy is out of the car, I'm telling you right now, like, the fact that that guy is able to be charged, that's a miracle. As far as I'm concerned, that's a miracle. Max is dogging it up. Look at this motherfucker. Bodan, you have a great day looking at the pyramids, bud. Send me more pictures. I enjoyed them. Look at that goddamn dog. Look at this. Paws up, paws up. Now they're down. Look at this. Look at this motherfucker. God damn. Yo, I love dogs. Dogs are super cool, man. Mike K, $4.99. Thank you so much. Yo, look at the fucking coffee cup in the foreground, by the way. This is the new, like, setup. It's like, yep, you can see how much coffee I've drank. You can see what my caffeine level is. Look at my fucking hair, by the way. Like, can I hire someone to fix this? Like, seriously, I have problems. The text isn't appearing. Well, you can just write whatever the fuck you want. Hot take. Dogs? Pretty cool. Egyptian waiters. I mean, I would hope. I guess I don't hope, but I would assume that waiters in Egypt would be Egyptian. Like, that sounds right to me. But yeah, Mike, whatever you're going to say, like, you can feel free to just send me a PayPal thing and then post in the chat, like, yo, I sent you something on PayPal. Here's, like, that's fine with me. You know what I mean? You don't have to do the super chat thing. Especially if it doesn't work. I'm just throwing that out there to retweet. You know how it is.
Retweet. That was an opinion of somebody.
Now this is one hell of a headline. This is one hell of a headline. Are you ready for this? You're not ready for this. Have you heard of the story of Dangerfield Newby, a runaway slave who fought with John Brown and may have been the basis for the movie Django Unchained? Yes, I've heard the name before. I'm not intimately familiar with their story. But I've heard the name before. I would like to do a deep dive into abolitionist history at some point in my life. But yeah, I've heard the name before. Alright, y'all. You ready for this shit? Let's move this. Alright, so there's a headline here. If you're looking at the screen, if you're not looking at the screen, look at the screen. I want you to see the headline before I read it. Feast upon it with your eyes, and then I'll be right there with you. This is from Fox News. Bear tears up car, leaves beer cans unopened after getting trapped inside vehicle in Colorado. Lord have motherfucking mercy. A case of beer in the back seat may have been the enticement for a bear that got itself trapped inside a car in Douglas County, Colorado for at least an hour on Tuesday, according to a report. A Colorado Parks and Wildlife officer and sheriff's deputy eventually managed to safely remove the animal, Fox 31 of Denver reported. He was just doing what they do, which is kind of pinballing around in there, trying to figure out his way out. District Wildlife Manager Casey Westbrook told the station. The bear had reportedly gotten into the unlocked car and couldn't figure out how to get out. The animal shredded part of the door and the ceiling of the car, according to Fox 31. The case of beer also got slightly banged up, but none of the cans appeared to have been opened, the report said. That must have been like I'm not a beer fan. In fact, whenever I drink beer, I feel disgusting and I want to kill myself. Right? But I would drink that entire case of beer just because that sounds epic. Westbrook and Douglas County Sheriff's deputy were able to get the bear out by tying a rope to the door handle, opening it, and backing away. Wow, that's fucking genius. They're just looking for an escape route. So once the doors opened, he was looking for the nearest way out with no people, Westbrook said. Nearly 500 car break-ins by bears were reported between 2019 and 2020 in the state. Colorado Parks and Wildlife said, according to Fox 31, Westbrook advised locking your door or locking your car and not leaving food or drinks inside. I just want to read the headline again. Bear tears up car, leaves beer cans unopened. That's amazing. I love this kind of shit. Like, I just like, leaves beer cans unopened. It's just like, you read that in the headline and it's just like, my God. My God. That's incredible. Proto, $5. Did you see Jimmy Dore's sexual harassment of Anna? I don't get how lefties follow this guy. Katie Halper, Brianna Joy Gray seem to ignore all of this. I know that Brianna Joy Gray also has been ignoring some other very troubling allegations against one of her co-hosts, but, you know. But yeah, I've heard about it. I heard about this in January. This originally came to the surface in January, but it didn't get much attention because the Young Turks did not respond at that time. But them responding has given it a lot of attention. Myra's mama, Jimmy Dore did not do sexual harassment on Anna Kasparias, and you must have missed that segment. Yeah, Myra's mama, I think if you're going to post that kind of shit in my chat, you should at least know what the fuck you're talking about. So, okay, let's okay, right? Like, the court of he said, she said situation. Who do you trust more? Jimmy Dore or Anna Kasparian? Like, again, I'm not a Young Turks fan. I don't watch the Young Turks, right? I think Anna Kasparian does some decent work. I see some of her clips on Jacobin, but I don't watch the Young Turks, okay? I'm going to be honest. I don't really care about that shit, right? But if you trust, as far as integrity and honesty, if you trust Jimmy Dore over Anna Kasparian, you are probably an idiot. Like, I'm just like, there's a 98.7% chance that you're a dumb motherfucker, right? Like, you're just a dumbass. Why would he send an apology letter if he didn't perceive that he did anything wrong at the moment? Like, him joking about it years later is a whole separate subject. But in the moment, he submitted an apology letter because he knew he fucked up. Right? And then he spent years trying to figure out a way to craft that story into something that he could use on his fucking meme show. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'm sorry, if you're on Team Jimbo, I mean, you're a dumb motherfucker. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, even Jimmy's version of events, which I don't believe, make him look terrible. Exactly. Virgil, everything's bigger, but not the age of consent in Texas. Oh my God. Whew. I mean, my opinion on, like, TYT and Jimmy Dore and all of that shit is anyone who is a social democrat has way too much money. Like, that's really, like, what boils down to. And it's why I don't really watch any of these platforms. Like, if you're a social democrat, if you think democracy or whatever, if you believe in the United States project, you probably have way too much money and you're probably way too comfortable, right? So it's like, I don't know. Like, if like anyone who says Jimmy is like to the left of Anna, I'm sorry, that's just not true. Did you see the video of the Young Turks talking about women's camel toes while they looked at their crotches between their legs to do a critique, which is pretty nasty and degrading? No, but that has nothing to do with the fact that Jimmy Dore is a sexual harasser and a creep. So that's called whataboutism, right? That's what that is, right? Okay, so it's impossible for Anna to get sexually harassed because she works for a company that did a bad segment at one time. What? That's called you shouldn't have worn that dress. Like, that's called, like, you know, I'm sorry, that's just so ridiculous. You're just an idiot. Get the fuck out of here. I'm done with you. I am a SOCDEM. Why are you a SOCDEM, though, Proto? What keeps you from becoming an anarchist? Like, genuinely. Like, you don't have to apologize. It's just like, what about social democracy is more interesting than an anarchist perspective? Because that's my thing. It's like, if you believe in the American project in any capacity, you're probably like relatively comfortable. Like, and that's not to say that you're like, you know, swimming in money or anything. I'm just saying you're probably relatively comfortable. Like, to me, right, like the way I see it, like Medicare for all, that's great. But it's not going to solve racism in the medical industry. It's not going to solve homophobia in the medical industry. It's not going to solve transphobia in the medical industry. It's just not. Right? And so, like, and I don't have any faith in the United States government or, you know, anything about that shit that they're going to equally treat people. Right? There's so many cases of black people being killed by nurses, especially during the COVID pandemic, because nurses just didn't care for them as much. Let's say a nurse was stretched thin, right? Had like 5 or 6 patients at once, right? This was studied. There's data on this that, just so happens that in those situations, the black women are more likely to die, right? It's just, you know, and so like that's my thing. Is like, and that's just one example out of many, right? Like, yeah, like I have no problem with tactically allying with social democrats. I'm just saying, why are you a social democrat and not an anarchist? Like, it's just a genuine question. Also, how the fuck did this dumbass motherfucker find my stream anyway? Like, how are there always Jimbo Dumbo motherfuckers lurking in the depths? Like, I've been shit-talking this guy for months. How is this guy coming in here like that? Like, come on. Oh, of course they're necessary. I'm not saying that they're not necessary. I'm just saying that why stop there? That's my thing. Is like Bernie Sanders' agenda, fantastic. But why stop there? Why is that your goal? Why is that the ideal destination? That's my question. Like, for me, when I like consider myself a leftist or an anarchist, my guiding principle is that there can always be a better world, and we should always strive for a better world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like social democrats, at least, you know, the way I perceive them, and you can feel free to you know, provide your rebuttal to this, but I just feel like they're not, you know, thinking of a more grander world. I don't know. I just like, that's my thing. I just want to be I want to achieve utopia, and I want to achieve absolute peace. And is that possible in my lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. I personally am optimistic, but hey, I'm only 25, so I got a lot of time left, right? But it's like, you know, I don't know. Like, if you're like 60 years old or whatever, and you're like still trying to get Medicare for all passed, and you can't envision I understand your perspective. The way you use the term anarchism is what I call communism. I mean, they're both basically identical. Really, the difference is just aesthetic for the most part. I feel like being a social democrat is the only sensible way things will progress. Why is that, though? Like, for example, let me say this. I'm an anarchist, right? That said, I worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign, right? I canvassed, knocked doors for Bernie Sanders, right? I traveled to other states to canvass and knock doors and do phone calls and all that stuff. And for Bernie Sanders isn't an anarchist. I thought that if Bernie Sanders became president, we'd be in a hell of a better situation than we are right now, right? And I you know, probably true on that one. But my thing is, like, why stop there? Like, if you're trying to say, like, okay, I'm going to knock on the door, and, you know, someone who's 40 years old, 50 years old, maybe 70 years, like your grandma answers the door and says, like, and I don't want to say, like, we need to seize the means of production, bitch. You got to fucking, like, you know, get that Molotov and come downtown. Like, that's not, like, you know, you can say, yeah, vote for Bernie Sanders. You know what I mean? You can be tactically aligned with who you're speaking to and meet people where they are. If someone is a, let's say, centrist liberal, right? Or just like a somewhat more, you know, like, let's say they're a fucking whatever feminist liberal, like Hillary Clinton supporter, and you're trying to get them to, like, you know, vote for Medicare for all policies, whatever. You know what I mean? You can do that without, like, you know, wearing your fucking, like, spiked mohawk, having your fucking A with the fucking circle tattoos on your fucking forehead, right? You can do that. But that doesn't mean that your personal philosophy should be held back by what other people believe. And that's what I'm trying to say here. Is that, like, I am totally fine with meeting people where they are, but I always want to pull someone to the left. You know what I mean? Like, I find it to be impossible for someone to be to my left. And I will, like, if someone tries to claim to be to my left, I will try to understand what they're saying. 9 times out of 10, it's like Jimbo Dumbo people who think that, like, you know, gay people shouldn't be allowed outside, and that somehow makes you more to the left than me or something, right? But, like, the idea for me is that there's always going to be a better possible world, and we should always strive for that better possible world. But that doesn't mean that at all times you have to be like that, like, you know, skate punk anarchist, like, rolling the streets with a fucking bag full of Molotovs. You know what I mean? Like, there's multiple ways you can present yourselves in multiple different scenarios where you can achieve the goal of pushing people to the left. Maybe they're a sock dem now because they were recently liberal. And hey, and if I can convince you to become an anarchist after this conversation, or maybe you start studying more or whatever, that's cool. That's my goal. Anarchism is not incompatible with government. It's just, you know, incompatible with rulers and presidents. You know what I mean? You can still have a government. It's just the idea that you're going to have one person who can unilaterally decide to fucking spend nuclear weapons on another country and kill hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. That's the problem. You know what I mean? That's the problem. And so, but if you want to have like a fucking Parks and Recreation committee that like fucking will look at like fucking, you know, zoning situations, you know, see where the best spot for a picnic table would be, that's great. Like, I don't, you know, that's fine. You can have government or governmental bodies in an anarchist, you know, world. It's just, we don't need these people. Like, government should be, like, people that want to do the work so we don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, government should be the people that go, like, walk into work every day. Oh, look at all this paperwork I gotta do. I do this for the people. Instead of, oh, I gotta walk into work with my fucking, you know, gun on my hip. Who can I shoot today? Who can I tell what to do today? You know what I mean? That's the problem. And when you have, like, power structures that are privy to that stuff, I mean, you know, it leads to corruption, and that's why you have to kind of root all of that out. Yeah, the government and the state are not identical. Those are not synonyms, for sure. Like, I view government should be the same way people view janitorial work. Or, like, you know, garbage collection. That's how I think all government should be viewed, right? Something that has to be done, something that no one wants to do, but something that people are willing to do because it has to be done. You know what I mean? That's how government should be. Hoss Boss Man, I saw you posted that, Mila linked me this thing that Ben Burgess did where you asked a question about me. So I just wanted to say I see you. Double dipping, oh shit. Double dipping that chip. What's the guarantee in this anarchist government that people are not going to do bad things? Well, I mean, first of all, there is no guarantee, right? But there's also no guarantee that people aren't going to do bad things like right now. You know, we're seeing a surge in crime because people are fucking homeless, they're destitute, and they're afraid, and they're just like, they don't know what else to do. So, yeah, I mean, you're never going to, like, there's going to be people that want to be serial killers, right? Sure, that's going, like, that will probably be a thing. The way that we should compare it is not, if it's not going to be perfect, why bother? Like, that's the common criticism that I see. Oh, well, this world won't be perfect, so let's just stick where we are right now. That to me is the problem. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously, if people have their needs met, like, let's say you don't have to worry about rent, you don't have to worry about feeding your family. That's a giant incentive to perform criminal acts just off the table. Like, most crime is only performed because of the situations that people are in. Now, that's not to justify it, right? And I'm not trying to say I justify crime or robbery or stealing or theft, especially from other poor people. Like, if a poor person steals, like, $30 from someone who's also poor and then is left with no money, that's a horrible, like, situation. But if both of those people have enough money to live, then they're not going to be in that situation 9 times out of 10. Right? And so, like, that's kind of, like, what we have to deal with. We have to remove a lot of the root causes that cause crime. Right? We need to work on being closer to one another as humans. Right? Because we live in a very atomized world where people are afraid of each other. Like, you've got people that, like, are afraid to talk to their neighbor because, like, I don't know. Like, that's strange to me. Why are you afraid to talk to your neighbor? That's bizarre. You know what I mean? Like, we need to work on being more in touch with one another. And I think, you know, we have to alleviate a lot of the problems that cause crime in the first place. I mean, look at something as simple as leaded gasoline. Remember when we had lead in our gasoline? Right? When we switched to unleaded gasoline, crime dropped. Why? Because the lead in gasoline caused brain damage that made people more prone to violence. We got rid of the lead in the gasoline and crime dropped. Right? And so we can take that approach to all kinds of things. Proto says, I was a centrist, but I saw a race realist discussion with a black man degrading himself to white nationalist. That discussion pissed me off so much it turned me into a lefty. I feel you. Well, Proto, I hope I can keep pushing you left. That's my goal. If you ever have a question or concern with the way that I present myself or my worldview, feel free to ask. I have no problem with that. Whoever has the most guns wins. I mean, that's the world we live in right now, though. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, we already live in that world. We lost 200 cops last year. Good. Let's go for a fucking record next year, or this year. Now, when I say lost, let me expand upon that. Lost means the cops are no longer cops. Does that mean they're dead? Not necessarily. They could quit their job if they want to. Give them an option. Could we do that with social democracy, more social programs, more accountability with government officials, limiting corporate donate? Like, here's the thing. There should be no corporations. Hillary Clinton endorsed Nina Turner's opponent, Proto, and that led to Nina Turner having a giant fundraising day. And yes, Jeffrey, I saw that. I'm flying close to the sun. I know, I'm pulling back. Oh, limiting cooperate donations. I think that was a typo. I mean, I think co-op should be the exclusive way that people congregate instead of corporations. Because I mean, look at the world we live in right now. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, garbage, right? Garbage, trash, right? But Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, also garbage, also trash. Somehow, they have a higher reputation than the presidents of the United States that we've had. You know what I mean? Right? So, why is that? CEOs are just as bad as presidents. They just have a different jurisdiction. Yeah, I agree, Catherine. All things should be cooperative. Again, if someone wants to take a managerial role, it should be not, hey, I want you to come in tomorrow even though it's your birthday and you already had the day off planned 3 months ago, but you got to come in tomorrow. That's not what a manager should be. A manager should be, right? A manager should be like this. Like, oh my God, how am I supposed to figure out how to do this properly with the people? Like, that's the manager. That's what they should be doing. Not walking around with their fucking dick in their pants, fucking waving it around, talking about, like, you got to do this, you got to do that, calling you on your day off, telling you come in and you're fired. Right? That's not what a manager should be doing. A manager's job should be something that no one wants. And that's one of the things we have to make as a society. We have to make changes to. Right? We need to make manager roles, any role that has any position like that, to be undesirable. You know what I mean? Like, again, I want to use like the garbage collector or janitor analogy. No one wants to do it, but it needs to be done. That's how all positions of, you know, and again, no power, but that's how all those positions should be handled. What's wrong with walking around with my dick in my... I don't know. I just said words. I don't know. Fully automated gay luxury space communism. We're on the same page here. Anyone who talks about politics in like a 10, 20-year worldview that doesn't factor in AI, automation, and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I'm sorry, but we're not... You are living in a different world than I'm living in, and I think your world is a little fantastical. Like, look at the pandemic. Most of the jobs that were lost under the pandemic have been replaced by automated machines. Like, look at Walmart's, for example. They expanded their self-checkouts, right? They slashed their workforce, right? Like, and they're not going to hire those workers back, right? So what do we need? Okay, there's two options. One, those workers become homeless because they can't fucking find a job. Or two, we just give everyone the fruits of and the benefits of these machines. And that's why, like, one of the scariest aspects of, like, just the world is if, like, imagine, like, Jeff Bezos has control over, like, the world's first, like, supercomputer AI or some shit. Boom. Case closed. We lose. Humanity's over. You know, at that point, we become a slave force. Right? You know what I mean? And so, like, and that's a huge problem. Anyway, I'm going to get into the recap. There was a protest yesterday, and there will be one today as well. And so let me get into that, because that's like the main gist of what I do these streams for. Max is right here. Look at this dog. Maxie! Woof! It looks like he's reaching for the ball. The ball's on the floor, but doesn't it look like his paws are just like, give me the ball? Isn't that crazy? Look at that shit. What a dog, what a dog. Oh. Oh. I'm stretching. Oh my god. Fuck. Okay. Damn, that felt good as hell. Woo! Alright. So let's get into the recap, folks. Bada boom. There it is. So yesterday was the 57th straight day of consecutive, in a row, no breaks, protests in the city of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, over the police murder of Andrew Brown Jr. on April 21st. And so it's been a while. And again, I just want to say, last week we had some very small crowds. I'm talking about like 10 people. And I was getting very worried. But the crowd size has been growing this week. It's been staying pretty steadily around 30 to 40 people. And again, I want to remind folks, this is a small town. Right, we only got about 20,000 people that live here, right? And so it's a pretty fucking small town. And so as a small town, it's not like, it's not like Minneapolis, for example, where there's millions of residents and they're getting thousands of protesters, right? If you look at the percentage of the people that live here versus the people that come out, I'm pretty impressed and I'm very satisfied with this, especially for 57 straight days. So yesterday, we marched through some other neighborhoods. What we've been doing recently is we've been marching through neighborhoods, picking people up across the neighborhoods, and then going to the main street at the end. So we go throughout neighborhoods. We get people coming out, joining us. We have fun talking to people. And then we go down and occupy something like Eringhouse Street, which is, again, the main road of commerce. You have all your fast foods on that shit. So that's kind of what we've been doing. Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yesterday, pretty good energy. It was raining for a little bit, so I was unable to post for a little bit because the rain usually fucks me up. So in between this clip and this clip, it was raining a little bit. And again, when the rain is on my phone, right, it fucks with my ability to do anything. I can keep the camera rolling. You know what I mean? But, like, actually turning the camera off, opening up Twitter, typing in, like, I can't do that in the rain because the rain just fucks the screen up, right? And so I'm just throwing that out there. So in between that, I kept the camera rolling. I've got some B-roll if you want it. Like, let me go get it. Let me go get this shit. I got it right here. Hold up. Let's see. Alright, so here we are. Some umbrellas. Hold up. I know. You can't see anything yet. Here we are. There's umbrellas. Look at this shit. Boom. Look at that. People are fucking having their umbrellas out. You know who didn't have an umbrella? You know who didn't have an umbrella? This bitch, because I love getting rained on. And so, yeah. So it was raining. It was not like... It was like one of those things where it was like drizzle, heavy downpour for like 5 seconds, and then drizzle, like, so here it was like pretty heavy, and then it was like, done afterwards. So it was pretty interesting. Yeah, so it was rainy, and then it wasn't rainy, and yeah, so here we are. We're on Eringhouse, and folks came up with a new chant, so I'm gonna put this out. So we started this chant here because we've had a bunch of people like drive up with, like, we had some dude the other day drive up with a fucking megaphone that he probably bought somewhere and said no one cares, like, so okay, so I want to be very clear. So no one cares, yet you drove in your truck, bought a megaphone, and stalked fucking protesters for like 30 minutes until you could have a chance to scream at them, and no one really heard what you were saying anyway. That's how little you care, right? And so we have chants now that whenever there's, any sort of, like, any situation where someone's trying to heckle us, we're going to start doing racists are not welcome here. And so that's pretty good. And so we went down Eringhouse, and then we wrapped up. It was a pretty good march. Again, really the main thing is just getting new people involved over the course of the, over the course of, every time we go to a different neighborhood. We get some people to come out and they say, all right, this is cool. And then we tell them we meet same time every single day, except for the weekends. And so, yeah, so next Wednesday, apparently, they're going to bus people from Elizabeth City to Raleigh again. And that is for there's going to be a solidarity march in Raleigh trying to pressure state legislators to not there's a bill in the House or whatever that is trying to copy a Florida bill that says that anyone gathering groups of over 3 can be declared a riot at any point. What? Right? And so people are going to be marching in Raleigh from Elizabeth City because Elizabeth City has had 57 days of nonviolent and very peaceful protests, And so they're trying to have Elizabeth City be used as an example of why not, again, if you invite if you have a party at your house, that could be considered a riot under this fucking stupid ass shit. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, but anyway, I would say day 57 was pretty good. And I'm looking forward to day 58. Again, very solid with this. On Saturday, we're going to do a Juneteenth cookout. I just want to let everyone know that on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to start doing my shows from like 9 to 10 instead of usually the 10 to 11 or whatever, just because we do protests early on Saturday and Sunday, and I really hate having to do my show and then rush the show and then not have time to eat and then go so on Saturdays and Sundays I'm going to start doing the show at 9 to 10 instead of 10 to 11 or 11:30 as the show, and yeah, so day 57 pretty good. Day 58 ? We'll see what happens. And again, this is pretty good stuff. So huge fan. And shout out to everyone in Elizabeth City for, putting together this shit. This is historic. One of the people keep asking me, why are you focusing so much on the protests and not focusing on everything else? It's because, one, everyone is talking about Joe Biden being a fuckface. Who cares? Everyone's talking about internet drama. Who cares? I'm the only one in this entire fucking media space who's talking about this, and that's my thing. So if you don't like it, go fuck yourself, and after you fuck yourself, tell me how it went, because I'm very curious. Speaking of dumb fucks, Mustafa, why are you silent about TYT and Aaron Mate? I'm silent, yet I spoke about this earlier today. Is it because he's a Russian paid actor? I don't care. Why am I silent? Because I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Like, if you come into the chat and bring it up, I'll respond, right? But that doesn't mean I'm silent. Like, again, I don't give a shit about petty internet drama with people that barely even matter to begin with. Like, Aaron Mate, who gives a shit? He's nobody. If you go on the street and ask, hey, how do you feel about Aaron Mate? They're going to say, what? Who cares? He's nobody. He has no following that's not like fucking weirdos online, right? He gets paid by fucking foreign governments to spew propaganda. The guy's a fucking like loser. He's a loser. Who gives a shit? And then the Young Turks, right? Again, the Young Turks are boring. Like, I'm sorry, but like they're not for me. Like, they do a good job of reporting like a lot of things, and I appreciate that. And they like, I'd rather watch the Young Turks than I would MSNBC, for example. But again, this is just not the space that I exist in. Like, I don't care about the Young Turks. I don't care about Aaron Mate. I don't care about the Gray Zone. And if I do talk about them, it's just because I'm going to make fun of them because they're fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking losers. They're crybabies and they're fucking morons. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, they're all just a bunch of morons. I don't give a shit. You like real protest shit. Well, here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people out there that do shows and talk about how left they are. Like, is Jimmy Dore going out there doing protests? No. He actually set up a protest and then didn't go because that's how much of a fucking pro-leftist he is. Right? So for me, I come from protest worlds. I don't give a shit about all that online drama. I mean, I love online drama, don't get me wrong. But if it's a choice between protesting the government and online drama, that's an easy choice. Like, I will make that choice any day of the week, 10 times out of 10. There is not a single alternate universe where I select like online drama over protests in my city. Like, I'm telling you this right now. Jay creates, I only started watching Andrea very recently, so I only know her for the Elizabeth City marches, but I just discovered she has a whole catalog of speedruns of Mega Man. I'm so happy you said that, Jay creates. Yo, I really, really, really want to do some more speedruns of Mega Man. It's been a long time since I've done it. I haven't done any since the protest started, right? Like, would anyone be interested in like me doing a protest or a speedrun stream today? Like, is that something that people are interested in? Like, maybe even if it's just one run of one Mega Man game, you know, like something for fun. I want to do like more speedrun related streams because then that gives me a chance to talk to the chat a little bit more. I'm also like been doing some Doom ILs as well, you know, but I don't like streaming Doom ILs because I get frustrated. You know what I mean? Like, doing ILs is frustrating for me, like when I'm streaming, because I get embarrassed. And I like, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the IL is mostly luck anyway, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's good material to watch, like, the first 4 seconds of a level over and over again. But, I'm down to do, like, a Mega Man X2 speedrun. If anyone's interested, like, fuck it, why not? One of the things I like about speedrunning is that, again, people can come into the chat and we can talk about anything. Right, a lot of people come into the chat during Above It All, and I've got like other things that I'm talking about, and I can't give certain topics like the amount of time that they deserve. But I mean, you know, you can come in during a Mega Man speedrun, and, you know, we can talk about fucking, you know, I don't know, fucking whatever the fuck you want to talk about for hours. You know, like, that's my thing. IL stands for individual level as opposed to playing, yeah, that's what Freak Glitcher said. Like, you do one level at a time. The idea is, like, you know, if you do one level at a time, you do it until it's perfect. Whereas if you do a full game speed run, if it's, like, you know, 2 hours, it's hard to spend 2 hours making every move perfectly. You know what I mean? Whereas if a level is only, like, 45 seconds, you know, you can do that over and over again until you got the flawless 45 seconds. How come you weren't in the Force the Vote protest? Because I didn't want to force the vote. I thought it was stupid. But if I lived in DC, you bet your sweet Bippy I would have been there. It's just I'm not going to drive 4 hours for a fucking dumbass bullshit like that. You know what I mean? But if I lived in DC still, I would have been there just to make fun of them. I would have heckled them. I would have heckled their bitch asses till the cows came home. I got sucked into watching Spyro. Spyro's amazing. I love Spyro. Just fake your runs like Decino does? Maybe I should. Well, here's the thing. There's multiple kinds of speedruns. You can do a speedrun where you like do it all in one sitting as a human being, and you can do a speedrun where you save and load throughout the speedrun. And those are in Doom, those are indistinguishable. There is no way to tell the difference. Right? The only way that you'd be able to is if you see someone in real time with keyboard inputs and with webcam and all that shit. But like, if you see someone play Doom, it is indistinguishable doing it in one sitting versus saving and loading throughout the game. And so, you know, just saying. Anyway, folks, I gotta pee. That's like what I'm dealing with right now. This is the world that we're living in. If anyone wants me to speedrun Mega Man games, like I'll do like just a quick one, like I'll do Mega Man X2 or something, 45 minutes to an hour. Let me know, because I'm genuinely interested, and if y'all are genuinely interested, I'll do it. So send me a message after the stream and say, hey bitch, give me an encore, and I'll be more likely to do it. So just throwing that out there. But thank you all for watching the show. I really appreciate people for sticking around, for listening to me babble. And again, I'm getting back into doing more national news stories because I am receptive to feedback, and people have said that me only talking about protests is not good enough. So I'm receptive to feedback. I will be doing more national news stories. I will be covering more events all across the world rather than just in Elizabeth City. And, you know, if you have any sort of stories that you want me to talk about, send them to me. So thank you. I'll see y'all, and have a great motherfucking day. Thank God the fucking goddamn shit is... Oh shit. It's still on?
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened.
I hate the white man. He's of the devil. He was made in a cave in the worst parts of Europe, produced from the lowest forms of humanity.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting, pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs. I got hairy legs. I got hairy legs. I got hairy legs.
Everybody comes in your grandmother. 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 Everybody comes in your grandmother.
Get your words straight, Jack.
And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup.